So let's start our day with our lesson number 4 of programming 2, which is reading raw data files. So in this we have two topics: reading raw data files with formatted input and controlling when record loads. Now till date, or in your prog 1, you got introduced that how one can create a data set by reading from an existing SAS file or even from a non-SAS file like from Excel, correct? So when we want to create a data set reading through Excel, either you import that Excel or you connect to your Excel worksheet via libname, and from that library of your Excel, you can create a data set, correct? With a data step. So this was some lessons or some part of your learning where you got introduced how one can create or generate data sets via reading from existing SAS data sets as well as Excel files which are non-SAS files. Now we'll see another example here in this chapter, that being a data analyst, you will not always have data all in your SAS format itself. Data is always scattered in various formats. The data would be saved in either any of the databases like Oracle, Teradata, Sybase, SAP, Access, Excel, or even in SAS files, or even in the files which are called as raw files, which are also termed as flat files. Okay, so what are those raw files? So raw files looks like this. So to begin to show you, in your data which I have provided, you will also find this types of raw file. So the raw files which are having this as DAT type of extension. Okay, so I am default opening it into Notepad. Therefore, it's giving you this icon to open into Notepad. So when I open in the Notepad, I get this information. So what you could see this is just data. Okay, so there is no format of this data having rows, column headings. Okay, so it's just the information about the data values been saved. So this type of files is called as raw files, or you also called as flat files. So this is one of them. So it's just the data information. Okay, whereas for Excel also, sometimes we know Excel files are saved in the form of, or CSV files in that matter. CSV means comma separated file. So some of the comma separated files are always saved in Excel. So you cannot see here one of them, but yes, we do have some of the CSV files which are saved in Excel. So those CSV files are also termed as raw files. See, when I keep the cursor here on the sales, the icon is Excel. Okay, but when I look into it, it's giving its Microsoft Excel comma separated values. But if the same table, if I want to open it into suppose Notepad, you'll find the values are separated in comma. So this type of values are also your values which are in non-SAS values, but the values are separated by some delimiter. Delimiter is here as a comma. So this type of files are termed as flat files, raw files. So you have data into it, and we need this data to get into SAS. Why? Because we want to work into SAS. So we want to work on this type of files in SAS. We have to read this into SAS files, correct? Or convert them into SAS file. And that is what our topic here is all about: reading raw files. So we'll be reading raw files with formatted input. Now, what is this formatted input? That also we'll see. And controlling when a record loads. Okay, so what is controlling when record loads? We'll see that. So moving ahead on this very first point, 4.1, reading raw data files with formatted input. So this is a business scenario where you have a data called offers.dat. Okay, so observe this raw file. Now don't look into this, what is this above line, just observe this raw file. So when you observe this raw file, you find there are certain values, okay, and these values having some special signs. Now this special signs are slashes, then you have character values, number values are having some special signs of percent. So this raw file is now read as SAS dataset with proper rows and columns. So this type of file, if you see, it is not in a proper structure. So you can call this raw file as unstructured data file. Why? Because looking into this file, do you find that it is having some column names? Is this value starting in some column, ending at some column? You don't have any understanding here, correct? But the same file, when you read into SAS, you converted into SAS file. That's what these arrows are telling. You are writing certain steps and you're converting into SAS files, and they are being seen like this. So you see, it's in a proper structure, in proper columns, rows, right? And the values are accordingly aligned. So this type of file is called a structured file, and it is created from a non-structured file. All good up till now? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this values we have to read into SAS file. So that's what the business scenario is. Management wants to analyze discount offer data. So the data currently resides in a raw file and needs to be converted into SAS dataset. Because until this raw file is not brought into SAS or converted into a SAS file, we cannot give the report on the discount for your managers, okay, because they will come to us, because those are not technical people, okay, technical savvy people. Those are business decision makers, but they know we have data, and this data to be handled or to be worked, they will come to data analysts like us, like SAS analyst. So therefore we have to give out this type of output for this non-technical people, so that they will take the business decisions. Okay, so moving ahead, so it's a general question that for your work, how often do you need to read raw files? So you all are starting your career as freshly, so it is going to be never. Okay. Okay. So it's an idea where we are discussing. So it's telling input statement describes the arrangement of values in input data record and assigns input values to the corresponding SAS values. Okay, so you are not aware of this four style, but I hope you remember what input statement is. If you remember, we had come across creating a data set with data lines where you were typing the values. Yes, do you remember?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just hold on, I'll check my studio is getting connected. All right, so first and foremost, let me get connected to my library for G2. So remember, if we are creating some data, suppose I give some name for it, and we were providing input statement where we were providing this name columns, suppose, correct, right? And then we were writing the values by using this data lines. So data lines here is the instructions to SAS that you have to create these columns, but the values are not coming from any existing table. We are going to type the values. So we were writing the values like this. This roll number, some age, enter. Then you can give another name. And Correct. And at the end, when the values were given, you were giving semicolon and run. So this was your data step where you was creating the data set by passing on the values, where you was using a keyword called as data lines. So this is what it is, creating data set, name, roll number, age. So remember, you had to provide in your input statement about the name, its type, telling its character. So there is a dollar sign indicating it's a character type of column. Whereas roll number and age are numeric, so no need of giving any dollar sign. It is by default understood it's numeric. Now, in case in your name you had a column or you had a value which is more than 8 bytes. Now, by default, you know it will take 8 bytes as its length, correct? So, if you see its properties, you will find the name is having default length is 8, correct? Same goes for number, that is roll number, same goes for age. So, in case for your name column, if you had any name which is more than 8 bytes, is it, or 8 characters? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let
9.
me give extra. Is it 9? 3, 3, 6, and 8, 9. Okay. So it's always best to put it into proper columns. And I gave the roll number, suppose it's 5. Now look at your data step. It will execute, no message in log, but when you see your output or when you see your data set has been created, what you'll find now, how the name for Elizabeth will look. Any idea?
I think it takes only 8 characters.
Correct. So it gets truncated. See, right?
We need to
So,
give length.
right, absolutely. So it is the same thing. So because it's a data lines, post data statement which is reading in sequential, it finds those are values. So those values are put into data sets, and hence is telling a data set work dot class has been created with 4 observations and 5 variables. And this is your data. So when you check your name attribute, you find its name, its length, and its type. So type is character, length is 8 bytes default, and therefore, but the value here is more than 8 characters, it getting truncated. Now roll number also default, though it's numeric, it's 8 byte. Age also, though it's numeric, it's 8 byte. Okay. So we 8 bytes, 8 bytes for numeric, it saves maximum 16 or 17 digits. But again, it's going to utilize the space of your memory. So we will try to adjust the length. So you can provide the length before your input statement so that the length of your column has been first, it's been attributed before your pdb is created. Okay, hence you provide name length telling name is being character variable, and you provide the length for it is suppose 9 or more than it, let's have 10 characters. Then for roll number also you can provide the length telling max is 3, and for age you write the length is 2. Alright, and now let's execute. See, when I'm trying to give any numeric column the length, okay, it's telling that in SAS you cannot provide a length less than 3 bytes. So this is what it's telling, it should be between 3 to 8. Fine. So it's always to be given with 3 bytes. Now execute it. That's it. So you get this output. Look into your log. So this is what it's doing. And when you see your data file, let's see the length. So see, it gets the attribute of length as 10 bytes. Roll number, length is 3. Same goes with each. And this is the data file being created. Correct? So this is what was one example which you people got introduced, where you're creating data sets by reading, by passing on the values. Now in your raw or in your data, where you have provided or you have uploaded some data files in your PG2 folder, you have most of the data which are not only SAS but also raw files. See, charity.dat. You also have another file which is emps.dat. You have another raw file which is offers.dat, and that is what we are going to see. So what are the various types of inputs? We'll see it in an upcoming topic. Okay, so moving ahead, this is the information that depending on the types of your raw file, your input statement style changes. So the change of your input style could be either you provide as column input, formatted input, list input, or named input. So what is column input? So column input comes with standard data in fixed columns. Like now you have certain raw file where the values are in fixed rows. Okay. So for example, I'll just show you one example in such a way. Suppose here the same thing. Okay. I write the name, space. I give its roll number. I give its age. I provide another name. Then we have Ira some name, which is, and we have, okay, so I'll give the same example. Now what you see? So you see these are the values and they are starting in some fixed column, ending at fixed column, the whole column which is name. Same the roll number, it's starting in fixed column, ending at fixed column, and age also starting in fixed column, ending at fixed column. So I'll just save this. Let me put it on the desktop itself. Okay, so it will be saved as .txt. Okay, and I will upload it. So properties. All right. Now, for our reference, we have this raw file here, correct? So let's create a raw file into or convert it into SAS file. So I write data. I give its name as class 1. Now again, this is going to be not going to read a data from an existing SAS file. It's a raw file. So no set statements. You are going to write it here in file. Why in file? Because you have to provide the path where this raw file is. Correct? So where is this raw file? Let's check. Where it got saved. So what was it? Class text. Okay. So it's properties. Because it's a raw file, we are now going to provide the instructions giving the path for your raw file. So this is with in file statement. And of course, you provide your input. So now input, because it's the raw file with fixed columns, you need to count the columns and provide the columns for your data to be read. So it's going to start with first column. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are going to tell SAS that my first column is name, okay, which is going to start from column number 1 to 10, suppose. All right. Then I have another column which is starting. So it's 9, 10th. So let me give 10 is the space, all fine. So at 11 space, two places is the roll number. So from 11 to 12. So I will give the instruction telling my roll number is my another column, which is starting from 11 to 12th column. So this is column input. Okay. So next is age, which is starting from, so this is 12. So this was 10 is space, 11, 12, 13 is the space. Okay. So is it first? 13 is a place space and 14 to 15 is your columns for each. So 14 to 15. All right. So just this much, and I'm going to provide it as well. So moving ahead, this type of your input statement style is called as column input, where you're giving the column pointers to start the columns. So the instructions, so it's telling ending column position to is before your starting column. Yes. So I was just thinking the same thing, that you have to provide it the columns before your name.
No, roll number 11 to 12.
Yeah, that also I'll do it. Let's name is a character variable. We have to provide it as $sign without fail. Don't forget it. Done. So see, now your name, though its character length is 10, roll number by default 8 bytes, because you do not provide any specific length for it. So by default, it's taking length as 8. Same goes for age. So this is the input style, where you, depending on your raw data file structure, the values, because there are fixed columns, hence you use this input style in the form of column input. So this style of your input is called as column input, and that is what your slide is telling. The style of input is column input, where you have standard data in fixed columns. Now, what is standard data? The data where you do not need to provide any special instructions on SAS values. Those are called as standard data values. All right. So this is called as column input with input style, which is column input style. Now, next one is formatted input. So when do we use this formatted input? When you have your data which has the values which are standard and non-standard with fixed columns. Like for example, coming to this, you introduce a new column, suppose the birth date, okay? So what, or date of joining for a class or your college, whatever. So I give the date of joining for some values. So I give this value as 01/20/21. This person joined at 31st December 2021. This person joined, suppose 3rd March 2022. This person joined, suppose recently, maybe yesterday, day before yesterday, I gave the name of data as 2020. Okay, now this is a new entry, and you find this new entry is a date, and this date is actually having a special sign, which is your slash. And make a note, when you're reading files, any special signs, okay, SAS will not able to read it without any special instructions. So therefore it is called as delimiter, where SAS will not able to read the same file. So you have to give special instructions to read those files. So let me again upload this file into this folder, because I've made changes into it. So upload your class files from your desktop, which is updated one. Repeats. Okay, so you see, yeah, classes got updated. Now you need to enter a new, suppose, date of join. Fine. So now I execute this, telling this date of join is, suppose now we had the rows starting ending at 15th column. Now 16th is a space, correct? See, 16th is a space. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So from 17 to 26 is my date column. So I write from 17 to 26 is the date column. So now when I execute this data step, now understand the instructions, okay? Now when I execute this data step, you will have some type of missing values in your data. So looking into log, let's understand what it is trying to tell you. See now, this type of message is coming because you are reading from a raw file. So when SAS was reading the statements, it finds in file statement where it locates the position of your raw file. With input, it will start creating the columns for your PDV, and as per the instructions, it will read its attributes accordingly. Okay, so hence during compilation, this is what it's telling. This is the contents of PDV. Okay, and this is the logical ruler which it will be creating, or you call it as an input buffer. Okay, so it's a logical ruler where it's a raw file, so it starts reading from column 1. So this is 10th column. Okay, so this is the 5th column, so this is again the 5th column, this is next 10th column, hence it's 20th column. Okay, so it's telling that you have an error. So it's not an, it's not at all your syntax error, hence it's not highlighting in red and it's not stopping your data step. Look at it carefully. When I scroll down, it's still telling, it's highlighting there are notes, it's giving you the contents of PDB. So it's telling there were 4 records read, and it's also telling that a data set is created and a data step is used. It did not stop your data step anywhere. It only stops when you have a syntax error. So this type of error which comes, it's called as your data error. Please make a note. When you have this type of information where SAS gives you the contents of PDB and it highlights what is the instructions provided is not as per your data values, that time it gives you the data error. So when does the data error comes? When the instructions on your data step is not matching as per your data values, you get the data error. Now, what is the instruction here and what is unmatched with your data value? It's on the basis of your date of joining. So date of joining values consist of special signs, and it's treating this date of value because date of join, this column, because it has values with special sign, it is expecting us to provide an instructions on this to be read, but by default it's taking it as numeric. So because it's numeric, it is not having simple numbers. Those are having special signs. Hence, it's not able to read those values. And that is what SAS is telling, that at column number, see at column number 17. Why 17? Because this 2 indicates its 20th column. So this is the content of your raw file, which is your raw file value. This is your logical ruler where it counts the columns. Okay, which is also termed as input buffer. A buffer is a space in the memory where SAS holds the raw file. Okay, so it's telling that at column number 17 till this value, it is having no instructions as per your data, because in your data for input statement for date of joining, you had not provided whether this column is character. It's by default taking as numeric. If you are telling that this column is numeric, but the values for numeric is not matching as per your instructions. So therefore, it's telling the instructions is not matching as per your data values. Hence, SAS is not able to read the value in PDV. So this is the content of PDV. See, by default, you have default temporary values of your data step, which is underscore n underscore and underscore n underscore. error and underscore n. So n indicates in first iteration, underscore error end of a value is 1, which is you have a error. So it's a Boolean expression 0 or 1. Correct? So 1 indicates you have an error and therefore it's not able to take the value for date of joining. It's because numeric, it's showing its period. Whereas this is showing you it's able to read the value. And this case is continued in your raw data record number 2 also, at raw data record number 3, number 4. It's a data error, it's not a syntax error, but it still keeps on processing your data step and it's creating a data set. Therefore, when you see your raw file as converted to SAS dataset, you find date of joining being numeric, it's showing you as period as the values. Same in log. Looking into log itself, you should understand it's taking its period. That means it's taking it as character. So when you have this type of information, either you give this date of joining as $sign so that it reads it as character. Okay. So now looking into this, now it's able to read, but you know this value, which is date of joining. See, it's showing you this A, it's showing its character. And you know dates in SAS are never saved as character. We want this to be saved as SAS dates. Correct? So now this type of instructions, which is called as column input, is not going to help for the date values because those are numbers with special signs. So in that case, we are going to use the style which is called as formatted input. So it's telling when does we use this formatted input style. Standard and non-standard data are our fixed columns. Now in our raw file, yes, we do have standard data as well non-standard data. So what is a non-standard data? So those data values where you need to provide some special instructions to SAS to read those values, those are termed as non-standard data. Whereas here, did we have to provide any special instructions? No. Hence, this type of data is called as standard data. All right. So how you will give this information? So for that, now you are not going to give this column pointers or directly the column start and end values, but you will tell that of column pointer at the rate starting from first column, you should have a variable name to be created, which is character. Then starting from the column, which is column number 3, no, which name is ending at 10, correct? So you can write as 11. So when you write this column, okay, at the rate of 11 space, it's the roll number column. Then at the rate after roll number gets over, so which is the
14.
one second. Let me first copy that line or keep that line as it is. Yeah, I'll just do it like this. All right, input at the rate 1. I have column name, which is character. Then at the rate 11, I have roll number. Then at the rate 14, I have age. At the rate 17, I have date of joining. So in case date of joining, you do not provide any special instructions. We are taking it as character. Okay. Now just understand. If I'm just providing the column pointers, at what column it should start reading. Let's see how it's giving you the instructions. So you're getting these values, but looking into date of joining, it's not taking the whole values. So it's not a data error, but somewhere your data value has got truncated for date of joining. Okay, so it's not taking. Why? Because your values are showing it's a character type, but the values are more than 8 character values, hence it got truncated. Understood? Same is for name Elizabeth. Agreed?
So we have to give formatting for name and date of joining.
Absolutely correct. So I'll come to that point. But for here, you find that the values are truncated. Correct? Why? Because your values, though those are character, by default it's taking 8 bytes, when the values are exiting your 8 characters length. Correct? So what you can do is you can include the length statement. But this length statement should come before your input. Correct? So for your date of joining also, I gave the length as. Now X. So you get the values which are not truncated for name and date of birth. Okay, date of join. So this is which is called as, again this is your column input. Okay, but looking into your data value, your date is showing its character type of column. And you know in SAS we cannot save dates as character. It has to be saved as numeric. So you have to convert this character to numeric. Why? Because in SAS, dates are saved in the form of number of dates, which is SAS dates. So you need to provide an instructions while reading this columns itself that SAS should read this date which we have in this format, which is we have provided day, month, year. Correct? So it's a day, month, year. Day, month, year. It's not a month, day, year, because you never have a month 31st month. You never have a month 13th column, 13th month. Hence, you need to provide some special instructions telling that SAS should read this date in the form of DDMMYY10 dot. And that is what now you come across. Now this method was termed as of your input, which was termed as column input, correct? This is column input method. Now we'll get to know, this is also part of column input itself. Okay, so this is another column input where you are simply giving the column pointers. Now, when I come to formatted input, now just understand this. I copy the same code. I now give, along with my name, I will provide its in formats. Now, what does in formats means? Now, this is the format in which the date is saved. I cannot apply a format. So when do we apply a format? When you want to display the value, but the value is already in this form. So we are going to give the instructions to SAS to read these values in the form as DDMMYY. So that instruction is called as in format. So that's what I'm going to ask SAS. Now it's a character. So dollar. So max 10. So I'll give the information here itself. So it's in format. So here also I'll say it's in format. That means it's a format in which it's a raw file, but I may give it to be read it as instructions of in format. In format means read in this form and save it into SAS form. So it is in the form of DDMMYY10. Okay, so now let's look at it. When I gave this, my in formats already have the width, so no need of providing any length statement. Okay, so when I am using it call as your formatted input style of your input, no need of providing length because my in formats already has the width, which gives you the length for your column. So this instruction is called as in format. Now you'll see your dates are now converted to SAS dates, which is in the form of number of days. So what I'm telling the instructions to read it in the form, in the format which are there in my raw file. So this instruction is called as formatted input, and this is called as in format. All right. So this is what now actually we are going to focus. So this is called as formatted type. Okay. you getting it? So this is where we are going to focus, which is formatted input. So this is called column inputs. In column inputs, you had two instructions, which is giving the start and end columns, or you can give column pointers. Whereas in formatted input, we give the column pointer from where the column has to be read along with its in format. Now it's exactly opposite in format with format. So what is the definition of format? It's an instructions to SAS to display the data value in a specific form. Whereas what is in format is an instructions to SAS how to read a data file. So make a note, or I'll just type it for you in the chat box also. So in format definition is instructions SAS how to read a data value. This instructions could be either reading from a raw file or from a SAS file. So source of SAS file is not a question, okay, or it's not a main point. The point is it's giving the instructions to SAS how to read your raw file. Now in our raw file, we had this date which was in the form of DDMMYY. Hence, in your instructions, you ask SAS to read it as DDMMYY. So you're not applying a format, but you are asking it to read in this form. It's called as in format. So this instructions here is called as in format, but the style of writing your input method is called as formatted input. All right, now, any queries, any doubts?
The format is giving the instructions to SAS to display the data in the output.
Absolutely. Now make a note. So in this data, the data set is created where the date is in number of days. So can you interpret what this date is?
No.
Yes, no. So in case if you are creating a report, suppose you are writing suppose proctoring equal to, and you have this class. I give this name as class 2, okay, to avoid any confusion.
So in procprint, we will give the formatted date. Right?
Absolutely. Then you give the format statement, correct? So there you give the instructions to display the value in that particular form, right? So see, when you see this proc print, you'll see your dates are still into number of days. But now when I write in my proc print a format statement for my date of joining, I want this into date 9 dot. So what is this instructions? I'm applying a format to be displayed in this form. So this instruction is to display your data values, correct? Hence, it's called, it's applying a format. So it's representing your date in that particular form. All right, so this is how to display the value, whereas this is how to read the value. So that's what I gave the definition for in format. Now see the definition for format. It is the instructions to SAS to display your data values in a specific form or format. All right.
So we can give the same format also, right? DDMMYY10 dot instead of det9 dot.
It is just for you to show how it will show. So in case if you want, yeah, you know now what are the various formats. So you write DDMMYY and give the width. Of course, it's a format, so you can apply the same format in the form of TDMMYY 10 dot. So you'll get 10 dot. 10 is the width which includes your date, year, month, year in 4 digits, and including the special signs, you get this. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this style of your input is formatted input, and this we called as in format instruction. whereas here is your format instructions. Shanmuga, Priyanka, I hope you are following what we are doing.
Yes, Ashwini.
Yeah, so what I will do is I'll pause here and you try this, whatever is shown on the screen, and work out it.
Ashwini, I didn't get that art symbol. Why we give art symbol in front of the
At the
number?
rate is termed as a column pointer. It is termed as column pointer. So it's a pointer. The word itself is column pointer. So we are asking SAS that go to this particular column at the rate 1. So come to at the rate 11. So that is at 11th column. It should start reading a whole number. Then at the rate 14th column, it should start reading this as 8. Then at the rate at 18th or 19th column, it should start reading at date. So that's what is the column pointer. So at the rate 14, at the rate 70.
Okay.
Understood?
Yes.
Okay, so first and foremost, create this raw file as a text file and then upload it onto your studio. So look into this and create it. So once you finish this, then ask me to show you into your studio. Okay, so I'll just keep myself on mute. All right, so with this, it was general understanding about your column input and formatted input. So that's what on your slides, it was mentioning the same. Okay, so what is list input? That also I'll make you understand. So that comes when you have the values separated with comma. Okay, that will come to know later on. But first, let's understand what is your data type when you're working with raw files, okay, to be read into SAS dataset. Those raw files has the data values, and depending on those data values, we term those types of values as standard or non-standard data. So what are standard data values? So it's telling standard data is the data that SAS can read without any additional instructions. The character data is always standard. Some numeric values are standard and are not, are some are not. So look at this. Simple numbers can be read into standard data, correct? Simple numeric values. Of course, characters are always standard, but you need to tell it's a character value, therefore you provide the $sign. That's the general instruction. But that is a standard data because you're there for character, you never give any special or additional instructions. There are some of the numeric data values like numbers with decimals, with minus sign, with exponential values, with decimal values like this can act as standard numeric data value. So what is non-standard data value? So some non-standard data values which has the numbers with some special signs, and we need some special instructions on this for SAS to be read. Hence, those are called as non-standard numeric data value. Okay, so this is non-standard numeric data value. Fine. Okay. So looking into this raw file offers.dat, which style of input you will use here now? Column input or formatted input?
Formatted.
Formatted, absolutely, because this is the data which is having non-standard data values as well as standard data values. So what are the non-standard data values? If you check from column 5, it's telling its dates with special signs. If you check with column 21, so this 2 indicates it's 21, this is 15th column, this is 10th column, okay? So at 22nd, maybe the column, it's having some digits with percent sign, so it is percentage. So this type of data is a non-standard data value. Hence, you'll be using formatted input. Your input style statement is specific to read your data. So offers.dat file is mixed columns and has non-standard data value. So this is what you give. See, you give the path, you give your raw file, at the rate, first column, customer type, 4 dot. So 4 dot is your in format instruction. It's a numeric variable, but you are giving the width as 4 dot. So this is date MMDDYY 8 dot. So this is item group $8 dot. Dollar indicates its character and discount percent 3 dot. So this SAS program uses formatted input to read the raw data file in your orders.dat file. So see what it's telling you, your input, how it's giving the instructions, pointer control, variable name, and its in format. So what is a pointer control? It's the starting position from where your column has to be read from raw file. What is this variable? You give the variable name and you give the instructions as how to read the data value with in format. So this is with demo D01. So it's lesson 4 with demo D01. So now you are going to provide the path for this offers. So where is this offers data? Here. So what is the path? Go to its property. Paste it here. First, we like this. All right. Fine. Yes. Okay. So see, at the rate first column, fifth column, column name, and it's in format. So just submit your data step. So your data set is read. It's telling 19 rows are being created and 4 columns. Look at your log. So this was your data step instructions. So after execution, it's see the conversion of the terms also. See the term. It's telling 19 records. See the term record. Why record? Because it's read from your raw file from this path because of your in file statement. Minimum record length, maximum record length it's telling. And see the conversion now. So there is another note telling your data set is been created with work.discount. See the conversion of the terms in the column and the row. So now it's telling it's 19 observations. Earlier it was telling rows, records. Why? Because here it was still your raw file. Now it has become a SAS data set. Hence it's telling 19 observations and 4 variables. Got it? So that's what you see the data set's been created. See this discount, now it's in the form of numeric. Whereas date also is in the form of numeric. And now when you see this proc print, it will give you the same date or same values as your data set as it is. It's not having any format statement. So see, it shows you the same thing, list report. Okay. Now you write this proc print, which has this format applied on your offer date. So now you are asking it to display your dates in the form of date 9 dot. So you see your dates are now readable format. Got it? Yes.
Yes.
So in this program also, you can always keep your data step in a very presentable form. So you can give it in this way. Okay. So you can just open this demo D01, change this in file path, okay, which they have provided for your offers.dat, execute this data and proctoring step.
Ashwini, in the log, what is that minimum and maximum record length?
Okay. So what does this mean is, because it's a raw file, okay? So because it's a raw file, it's telling what is the maximum record length from your raw file and what is the minimum record length. That's it. Record is the term for your raw file. Okay, because it's the logical way of reading a program. So it's telling minimum record length, maximum record length is the same. So what is the max record length from your raw file which is reading? That's it.
I didn't get it. Can you explain again?
Okay, one sec.
Is it
So
like
you see this, so you see this raw file, correct? Now this raw file currently has records. Now this values are termed as records, okay, in raw file.
Okay.
So the maximum record here is length is this and this. So
Okay.
depending on your values of your records, what is the maximum length? That's it.
Oh.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So Ashwini, the minimum length and the maximum length both are same because
Yeah,
the
here
size of every observer.
that's what I'm
every
telling. Here it's
record is
telling you
same.
it's same. Yes, it's telling same. Is if we have this code, in this code, when we have our own class 2 data file which we were creating, let's check the log. Here also it's telling you the max and minimum is the same. So what is the maximum record? That means if you check this, the whole record length. Okay, so whole record length is 26. So max also and minimum is also same. Nothing much into it.
So it is the number of columns our program has occupied in each row.
It's not column I can say, but it's the values which is reading or the records which is reading from your raw file. So
Okay.
that record length.
Okay.
Okay, so done with this demo.
Yes.
Yes.
Shanmuga, Priyanka.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's understand reading data using formatted input. So we have to use column pointers. Either you use @n or you can also use +n. So these are two options for you as a data analyst. So @n, you know what it's doing. It directly moves your column to your pointer to that specific column number. So when you write +n, it moves the pointer n position. N position means, see now, you are writing first input, you are giving this your first column directly. That is at first column, it should read code. It should read it for 4 widths. So 4 width plus 1 position, that is this. That is moves the pointer to n position. So the next column is +1, which is +1 plus 1 position for 4th width is date. So that's what is reading here. So it may skip your space, but it reads the 1 position next to it, which is your date, which is starting from 6th position. All right, now understood. These are two column pointers. It is @ that is directly to your column pointer, or plus the number which is directly to that position from the end position to that position. All right.
Yeah.
So there are two column pointers. Best way you use this only. So an in format specifies the width of an input field, how to read data values stored in the field. So we are providing the width and we are also telling how to read. So code is to be read as character, whereas date we are asking it not only to give this width but also to be read as MMDDYY. Got it? So what is in format? It's an instructions to SAS to read the values with a given width of your input in input field and how to read your data values stored in your field. So I'm reading it as MMDDYY. I'm reading as character with a width of 4. All right.
Shruti, is there a way of reading the file when the space comes?
Either you can ignore the space or you can include the space given the pointer control. That's it.
No, I am asking because even the file which we created was very organized file based on the spaces it should be. A lot of files are not so well oriented if you are making them in Notepad. Let's say because comma separated files still have a comma to read in between. But now suppose this is gold. The next spelling is Elizabeth, suppose. So they don't give you exactly character 4 on it. They will give you character 4 on some and character 9 on some. So instead of reading them exactly to the spaces, can you read them till the space bar comes?
So depending on your data values, accordingly, you'll have to give the column pointers, right? That's what you're telling, right?
But it
So
will be
like
different for different names. That's what I'm trying to.
So like for example, you are telling it in this way, right? So for example, I'm just typing some value now. If I write this as okay, I give it some. This is how you are telling, correct? Here I don't have any space, but I have Neha, and this is the next value, which is its roll number. That's what you're telling me, right?
Give
If
a
this,
space between Neha and 07, just one space.
okay.
Yeah.
So when you have this type of values, okay, where this is fixed columns, correct? So when you have this type of values where the columns are not in fixed path, that time you can use tab. Okay, you can use the column extension as tab. And in that case, just give the instructions of column and it will read the columns in the form of tab. Or you can directly import this type of raw file, rock import.
Rock import.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That is another instructions of. So these are some of the examples of in format. It's same like format, but only thing is the difference for format is we ask SAS to display it in that form, whereas in format is we ask SAS to read in the form. So see if your in format you are telling $8 dot and your raw file value is this value. So in your SAS dataset, of course, it will read as character with width of 8. So if you write in format as width as 5 dot, this is your numeric value. So these are standard numeric and character values. It will read as it is because there is no special instructions or special values for this. But now when you come to this type of numeric value where you have some special values, either you give the in format to read comma 7 dot or $7 dot, it will save it as numbers because comma and 7 dot on this, it will read it to remove your special signs and save it as simple number. Got it? So either write comma or dollar. So even if you write comma, it will remove dollar and comma signs to be displayed or saved as numeric. Or even if you write dollar, it will remove this dollar and comma sign to be seen or read as numeric. All right. So same goes with this example, dollar with 12 dot. So here the difference in this value is at 1000 place you have comma, here you have period. So either you write comma x 7 dot or dollar x 7 dot. Instructions on in format means read in that format, remove the special sign, save it as simple numbers. Same go here, euro x percent 3 dot. See, it removes your special sign and saves as simple number with decimal, with 2 decimal places as percent with numbers. So this is with dates. Same thing what we see here, it's only how to read. So here your original date is in this form with no special signs, but the total width is 6. It's in the form of MMDDYY. So it saves as 0D. because it's 1st Jan 1960. It's saved as 0 day in SAS. With 8 width, if the value is this way, where you have only 2 digits year value, it will still save it as number of days. So depending on the width, the number of your dates is been saved as number of days. Now this date is in the form of DDMMYY 6 dot number of days. So it's 8 dot, 10 dot, and if it is date 7 dot, which here it's 31st December with 2 digits of your year value, it will save as number of days. Same goes with 9 dot. Look at it carefully. Once you observe or look into it, then we'll move to the next slide. Let me move.
Yes.
Ashwini,
Yes.
when you are done with this slide, can you show me that formatted and unformatted structure slide one more time?
You can see that on your PDF also. PDF book.
Uh, Thanks.
All right, so let's move. So this is clear within formats. Now the same thing, that's what it's telling. Use formatted input to create a data set named discount from your raw file. And that's what we are doing. So this is, always remember that when you have raw files to be read, the column instructions will be provided to us. Okay, so you are going to give this instructions as per this to write your data step, to read this raw file, to create your SAS file. So see your input at the rate first column, your column name and its width. So it will read from first column to 4 places. Then your next column description provided is should be offer date. It should read from 5th column, total width is 12. So accordingly, what you will give the instructions for this column? Yes.
At the rate 5 of a day. Um, 10 dot we can give that. No.
oblique DD oblique YY. Whatever.
Do we have that format, Priyanka? oblique. Look at the same formats.
YY6. Yeah, not oblique 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
10.
this is what you will give it as at the rate 5 offer date MMDDYY. Look at the date. Is this year with 4 digits? No. So it is
Two
not
digits.
10. So 2 digits. So it could be 8 dot.
8.
So that's what, yeah. So that's what it would be. See, MMDDYY 8 dot. Okay.
Yeah.
The same, you can fill it up. So now when you submit this data step, okay, so at the back end, during compilation, when SAS is into compilation mode, it will read your data statement. Because of in file, it's going to read the path where your raw file is. And because of this in file statement, it will create a logical ruler, which is also termed as input buffer. So this buffer is an area where it will hold your raw data record. Hence, it's called as a buffer. Okay, it is just a area in the memory to hold your raw data record, and from your raw data record values as per this input instructions, the raw data records are converted into SAS data set values into PDF. And how this PDF is created? Because of your input instruction. So because of your input instruction, customer type, it's the name, its type is numeric, its width is 4. So accordingly, the column is created. customer type, numeric 8. So now you are telling offer date is the column in input statement. So it's offer date, it's MMDDYY 8 dot, it's in format. So depending on this, it's understand it's numeric. 8 is the width, hence it's take this. Now item group, you're telling $sign. So name of the column, dollar indicates its character, its width is 8. Same goes for discount. So like this, during compilation, your input buffer is created and your PDV has been created. Now when this descriptor portion is ready, SAS moves into your execution mode. So during execution, when it reads this first line of statement of data statement, you know it has to, at initial stage, your PDV should be vacant. That means it should be initialized to missing. So all numeric values are missing. It represents period, character as blank. So when it hits your in-file statement, it will locate where your raw file is. So it specifies the path, correct? So it will locate where your raw file is. So as per your instructions, see now when it hits input, look at the slide carefully. When it hits input, that time only your raw data record is loaded into input buffer. Understand carefully. With infile, it just locates the path where a raw file is located. When it hits input, that time the first record is loaded from your raw file into input buffer. Understood? And as per the instructions with your input statement, now it will read the raw data records from input buffer to PDV. So it's converting records to SAS datasets. So now see, @1 cust type 4 dot. So @1, that means first column, starting from first column, 4 places, this value should be read for customer type. Then the next instruction is @5. So it will go to the 5th row or 5th column. Because of this width 8 places, it will read the values for your column offer date. So this is what it's an instructions to read your date. It's converting into SAS date. Next is @14. So 14th column directly, because you have skipped 13, which was blank. So @14 column is item group, its character, and the width is 8. So you get this value. And then @22, you get discount with percent 3 dot. So it's converting into number. All right. So this is how it works. For every record from your raw file, your data step will iterate that many times to be loading raw data record to SAS data files. And with run, you know, implicit output, implicit return. So first record will read from your raw file to your new data set. So this is how it will continue until the end of the file. But in the second iteration, you know, again your PDV will get reinitialized to missing. Now make a note. This is your reading from raw file. So the columns are not coming from input data set. Hence, all the variables will get reinitialized to missing when it's reading from raw file. Understood? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what, when you see the prop print default a list method without any instructions of format, you find your date is in the form of number of days. So if you want this report with a readable date, apply a format statement in prop print. Correct? And that's it. So any questions till now? Yes?
So in the buffer, whatever you showed, why we are not giving the space like here? For first we didn't give the space, then there is space for the before the outdoors.
This is from your raw file, the values has space, right?
Okay,
If you
so
want, you can, yeah, if you want, you would have given it @13. But you avoided the space, you directly moved on where the code is, where the raw value is. So it's telling @14.
so it is not necessary to give the space, right?
Yes, it's not necessary to mention the space in your columns.
Okay.
You are skipping it.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is all. So let's have an exercise for this. So open your PDF. So PDF, which we had read the first raw file exercise. Okay. So come to level 1, which is on page 4-18. So it's telling on page 4-18, exercise number 1, level 1. So they have given you this raw file structure information. So it's telling you have a raw file called sales1.dat file, which has employee for the Australian and US sales staff. The record layout is shown in the below chart. So this is the layout of your raw data file. So it's telling you have employee ID, first name, last name, and the arrow indicates in your code, you should include only this columns. So they have given the information starting column, length of fields, and data or your data type. So it's also telling country has a character value with this, dates is having numeric with format as this. We want to take in only higher date. So it's telling create a new data set named sales staff that contains the fields indicated by arrow in the layout. So you have to read only the field employee ID, last name, job title, salary, and hire date. And you need to print the output, and the output should be seen in this view. So your hire date is still in the SAS date as a result. So let's work out on this instructions. So coming to your studio, I'm going to write a program where they are asking us to create data, sales, staff. Of course, it's going to be saved in your work library. Now it's not, we are not creating this data set from an existing SAS file. So no set statement, but we'll be writing in file and you give the path. Now where is the sales stat or sales staff data for us? Yo, see sales dot that. So take its path. All right. Now let's start reading the record. So at the rate first column, so telling employee ID. It should be employee ID. The width it's 1. So 1 dot. No, how many width space? It's having 6 IDs, correct? So it's numeric. So 6 dot. Then next column at the rate 21st column. You need to have last name to be read. So you can give last name. It's a character variable. Length of it is 18. It's telling. So you can write $18 dot. Understood? So this is how you are giving the instructions. Next, which column they are asking us to read? Job title. So its starting position is 43. So at the rate 43 job. How many characters? It's a character variable. So 20 is the length max. So let's give $20 dot as its in format. Then salary at the rate 64th column. It's 8 bytes. At the rate 64 column. Salary. Of course, it's 8 bytes. Then you have higher date at 87th column. At the rate 87th column. Higher underscore date column, give this name. And it's telling in the form of MMDDYY. So it's in format MMDDYY. And the width is, it's telling 4 times Y. That means 10 dot. This is my data step. Okay, so now I have an error. Employee ID, invalid option, employee ID. What happened?
I think input in file, input.
Array, sorry. I'm so sorry. Input. Yes, thank you, Swarupa. Yes, because of that input statement, I'm so sorry. I used info. There is some logical error. So it's showing me data error. So it's telling it's not able to read this value. It's not able to read this date and higher date. So what's the instructions? Is it something which is missing? How about salary? Oh, see, salary has a special
You can dollar.
instructions.
Yeah.
Yes, so I did not give that in format for salary. So salary, it should have been given, total weight is 8. Okay,
Zero.
so dollar I can write as dollar $8. Okay. And then divide by 6 dot. Okay, let's execute. Anything which we are missing? So it's at iteration number 5. So it's 5 indicates it's the 5th row. Okay, it's 5th row. We have missed something. It's sales one table which we have to read, and we are reading which table? Sales. So that is why we are getting this problem. So what it is, you know what that sales. So if I'll show you this sales data, it is a different data. Okay. See, it's a different data. It was giving some different values, and therefore these values are not matching as per our instructions. Now, why? Because it understands that this level itself, the data is not correctly read as per our instructions. But when I see my my instruction to be read, which data, it's telling sales one. So let me check what sales one table is. This is what your sales one is, and this is what we had to read. Okay, so this was our sales one data. So my bad, in my in file, I should have given this as sales one. And now I read it. So my raw file read was wrong as per my data instructions. So done. See, 165 rows are there in this data sets with 5 columns. So yes, employee ID, last name, job title, salary, hire date. So is this hire date converted into number of days? Yes. So let's check log. All right. Data set created where it's reading this. So 165 records were read. And that is what we see as a data set being created. 165 observations with 5 variables. Correct? So in case if you want to see this report as a understandable date, you can write proc print equal to its sales staff format hire date BBMMYY. So I give this format. Okay, suppose yes.
In format, it is the same kind of.
In format, we're asking it to read in this form. In display, you can ask in any display format. as per your business requirement. Ultimately, your date should be readable. In case your business managers say that they want a date with a hyphen sign in between, they don't want the slashes. So what you can do, you can increase this width. Suppose if you give it as 12, let's see how it displays. So see, it's telling we do not have a format width with 12 dots. So just let's just try to give it in some way. I doubt it comes with a hyphen like this, but there is a format where you can have hyphen in between. So that's a different way of giving hyphen. MMDDYY. I have, I'll have to check, but okay. Let me just check this. So again, this format is not there. But in case your whatever your business scenario needs those dates, you can provide that date. So it's not taking it. Okay. It's not applying that format where I have provided as 4 times y. All right. So either you may give it in this way, or in case it was specified that you have hyphen with calendar date, so you can write date 11 dot. What this 11 dot does, it gives you the date with your word of your month within it and hyphen in between it. So this is how you see that. See? So it's the way how you want to display in a readable form as your report requires for your business end users. You can apply those formats. All fine? But while reading, it should read in this form itself. Why? Because your raw file has that date in that specific format. See this? So this is birth date, hire date is at the end. So this is hire date. Okay, so it's month, day, year. It's month, day, year. So all values are month, day, year. All right, understood now? Yes. So this is the exercise part 4. I give this in your chat box. So you can try it out. Done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Priyanka, are you there? I hope you followed. So with this, we'll stop our day. All right. So next topics of or next exercise level 2 and 3, I leave it to you as a self-study. Next topic is controlling when a record loads. This we'll do it in our next class. All right.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay, Ashwini,
So
bye.
yes, have a good night. Take care. Bye and thanks for attending the class.
Thank you, Ashwini.
Thank you, Ashwini. Bye.
Bye.